scrutiny into McConnell's prolonged absence has led the Democratic governor of his state, Kentucky, Andy Beshear, to press for more answers, writing, quote, "I am addressing this letter to Senator McConnell under the assumption that he is capable of reading and responding verbally and not incapacitated by means of consciousness or cognition. As governor of the state that you serve," Beshear wrote, "I am calling on you directly and verbally address the people of Kentucky and provide proof of your capacity to serve or resign." And my lead source tonight is the Democratic Governor, Andy Beshear of Kentucky. And thank you, Governor, for being here. Your letter says that Senator McConnell needs to talk on camera to prove his capacity directly and verbally, or you believe he needs to resign. Have you gotten any response from Senator McConnell or his office?
I have not. And this is now the second request I've made on behalf of the people of Kentucky. Listen, what's happening here is someone has been away from their job for about 6 weeks. And anybody who's watching, if they were away from their job for 6 weeks, they'd have to call their boss, explain what's going on, and talk about when they could get back to work. I respect everyone's privacy, especially with their health. But when you run for these types of offices, you give up some of that privacy. You know that when you run. Senator McConnell has a duty to the people of Kentucky to show that he continues to have the capacity to do this job, and it's time that he step forward and do it. Listen, if he supposedly had a 17-minute conversation with Scott Jennings, he can call in and have a 3-minute conversation with you. He can go to camera and just let us know he's doing all right, which is what we all ultimately hope for. But it is incumbent upon him to have enough respect from the people of Kentucky and the United States of America to do the bare minimum and be honest and transparent.
Do you believe that those two pictures his office released with Senator McConnell in them, do you think that those are an accurate portrayal of his condition right now?
I don't know, and it's stoked even more speculation that's out there. You know, only putting out 2 statements, not doing any interviews, not calling in when supposedly you're talking to people. Those are the types of signs that people see and become increasingly concerned. We don't have any timetable for when he might get back. And so it's not like we are asking a lot. We're asking the bare minimum. And if he won't do it, it is up to John Thune and the majority in the Senate to make him do it. Now, I think that the Senate Majority Leader has a responsibility to ensure that all of the members have the capacity to serve. Now, some people online are saying, why don't I go and try to storm the hospital? I'm in Kentucky. John Thune's in Washington, D.C. This is somebody he talks to on a regular basis. In the very least, he can give us a report on what he's heard. Or, Caitlin, to be fair, Scott Jennings works for CNN. He can, on air, dial him up, put him on speakerphone, and we can put all this speculation to rest.
Yeah, well, obviously Scott has declined to do so, but relayed what he says he heard from Senator McConnell. You know, you mentioned what you said to Leader John Thune here, saying that he should investigate what's going on with Senator McConnell. He responded today when he was asked about your letter that he thinks this is an issue between the people of Kentucky and Senator McConnell. What's your response to that?
Well, you only have a vacancy in the Senate if one of 3 things happens. You have a death, you have a letter of resignation, or the Senate moves to ultimately expel you. And that third part is what he has a duty to do if Senator McConnell is not capable. And as the majority leader of the Senate saying he's not even going to check on one of his Republican senators to make sure he can do his job, that is shameful. And while a lot of folks want to talk about what this person or that person should do, the wrong here is directly on congressional Republicans. The wrong is on John Thune, who has talked ad nauseum about Joe Biden's health, but won't investigate one of his own, won't walk right across town, won't be able to look in the camera and say one of my fellow Republican senators has the ability to continue, and I think so little of the American people I won't find out for sure. That's pretty shameful.
You know, some people might hear that and look at when The Democratic Senator John Fetterman was in the hospital, I think, for 6 weeks or so for depression after his stroke. At the time, Chuck Schumer said the Democratic caucus stood fully behind him. Do you think that this is a different situation in your view?
Well, I think anybody who's gone for that long at least needs to be honest and transparent about what they're dealing with, to give regular reports, and I expect that for a Democrat or a Republican. This is also one of the reasons that I support term limits. You know, it is time that we have a specific period of time where people can go into these jobs and that they're not careers, because part of what I think we have here is that Mitch McConnell doesn't think he has a boss, and he does. He works for the people of Kentucky, and he owes them an explanation.
We heard from Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who was commenting on your letter about Senator McConnell and the fact of what you say is a lack of transparency. I want you to listen to what the fellow senator from Kentucky had to say.
I think it's a campaign ploy by Beshear to look relevant. He wants to jump in. There's a lot of news over how Senator McConnell is doing, and so to appear relevant, he's putting out inflammatory statements and this and that. And I think, for goodness sakes, we've had elderly senators from both parties. You haven't heard me ranting and raving saying they need to prove they're alive and they need to do this. We've had people missing for a year.
What's your response? I mean, he's saying that this is a political ploy, basically, on your part.
I am the governor of Kentucky. Our people deserve a senator that they know has the capacity to serve. And how is it asking that much to ask him to do a short video or to call into a news station for a couple of minutes when supposedly he's calling other people and having longer conversations? It's a campaign ploy to say someone should have a 3-minute interview. My goodness, is that too much for Rand Paul? Because I see him jumping in front of every camera he can find. But how about y'all ask Rand Paul how he's doing? Ask Rand Paul to go over and see him in the hospital. This is his fellow Republican senator from Kentucky. And I know they don't like each other very much, but Rand Paul has a duty to the people of Kentucky too. Why doesn't he go see him and report on his status?
Governor Beshear shouldn't hold his breath, because today Senator Thune flat out said it's an issue best resolved between, quote, McConnell and the people of Kentucky. Joining me now, Karine Hajar, editorial board member of the Washington Post and a Steamboat Institute fellow, and Sawyer Hackett, a Democratic strategist and content creator. I have to say, the idea of it being confined to the people of Kentucky and McConnell, I mean, we know that every senator, yes, they have constituents in their home state, but they serve the people of the United States as well. And so a governor asking for some more assurances that the person can serve, given all the attention that was on other politicians like President Biden, how is this working?
I don't think it's working very well, actually. And all you have to do is open Twitter to see that everyone's asking the same questions. Of course, especially the constituents of Kentucky deserve, I think, an update. But look, I don't think it's unusual if you've suffered a medical event to need 40 days, 50 days to recover if that's what your doctor's recommending. What is unusual and what's raising suspicion is that they weren't transparent from the get-go, and they haven't been as transparent as I think that they could have been throughout this. I know that Senator McConnell really values privacy around, this seems to be a pattern throughout his career. He wants privacy around his personal life. But when you've been out this long and so many people are asking questions, I think you owe more than 2 pictures, a phone call, a voice note, a video to your constituents. That would help take some of the suspicion away from all of this.
You could even call into a radio show and not have any visual, right? You could do that if you want to preserve whatever physical restraints you might be having. I mean, Sawyer, Senator Rand Paul also weighed in and responded to Governor Beshear. Listen.
I think it's a campaign ploy by Beshear to look relevant. He wants to jump in. There's a lot of news over how Senator McConnell is doing, and so to appear relevant, he's putting out inflammatory statements and this and that.
So he's claiming it's about relevance, or is it about trying to get resolution for the people of Kentucky?
It's, I'm frankly sick and tired of being gaslit by Republicans into thinking that, by asking questions of Mitch McConnell, we're being crazy or being uncivil by asking questions about a U.S. senator who's been absent for more than 40 days from the U.S. Senate, who's missed 38 votes, who was found unconscious and, told us explicitly, as Karine just mentioned, that he had suffered a fall and he had pneumonia. And then we hear the audio dispatch from the 911 call, and we hear that a male was found unconscious and that CPR was being performed. And that has still not been adjudicated. We still don't have answers to why that happened. And yet, despite all those questions, you still have Republicans out there saying, like, this is all a political ploy, and Democrats are trying to use this to their advantage. To Kareen's point, if Mitch McConnell was well and fine and recovering in the hospital, he could simply just record a 10-second video telling the American people, that he's recovering, or he could step into a news show for 5 seconds, or he could, call up any news program on any evening and make, kind of assuage people's concerns about this. He's leaving the door open, and that, leads me to believe that he's not capable of making that call.
And let's not pretend, even if he did that, people might still have questions, but there are also a number of senators and members of Congress who could go to where he is and provide some level of assurances as well. But yet, the credibility and trust for that branch is dwindling.